Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney, also known as the Series 7 Guru, coming to you from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas with our always special VIP guest, the Test Geek himself, Brian Lee, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. I should tell you, Brian, you got a lot of love today on people who used your content and passed some of their NASA exams and social media today. Um, I apologize if you're trying, if you hopefully you'll come over here. We had a little glitch here on the LinkedIn link. And so this is not being broadcast tonight to LinkedIn. So my apologies. Hopefully you'll figure it out and find us over here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. That's what I get. I was snowed in and I was thought, well, since I'm snowed in, let me set up some links here. And I probably should have done that when I was here in Las Vegas on the grid rather than off the grid. So tell us what exam you're taking. That's helpful where you're joining us from. Brian and I just finished. We'll do some housekeeping, then we'll get going with any content questions you have. If you don't have any questions, feel free to, have some fun and fellowship with other people in the chat. We finished our 66 podcast series. That's available now. It's available both on the YouTube podcast playlist, but also on Spotify as well. So we got that done. I'm still working on our Series 7 podcast. I just published this week, episode 6, which is debt securities. Episode 7 is type of orders. I'll try and get that out this next week. If you do have a question for us, it's helpful if you tell us, what exam you're taking, followed by your question. That way we can pull it out of the chat easier. And then Brian and I are trying to figure out, well, is it this exam or that exam? Because there's overlap in the way they test things are different. If you are looking for a paid supplement, the best free supplement to your paid study materials is my YouTube channel. But in terms of paid supplement, there's nothing better than a Kaplan QBank and Brian's paid supplements, all in on his video series with a PDF, class notes. And then what I think the best practice test available is about $100. And he gives our viewers and subscribers a 20% discount. And that discount code is Guru20. And Kaplan, for any Kaplan product service, QBank's about $55 on Series 7. That code is Guru15. I will be teaching a 3-day Kaplan Series 7 Guru class Tuesday next week. You're welcome to join us for that. And then Kaplan asked me to cover and teach their 24, the 26th and 27th, and I'll be doing that as well. Live stream, if you miss us in the live stream, you can always catch us on Spotify. The replay. So you're at the gym or your way, wherever you're going. That's one way you can do that. If you are taking your series, the best way to use the channel is a free supplement. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But find your series, SIE, for example. And then there'll be 3 in the SIE playlist, 3 playlists. There's lectures. The second playlist is practice tests and practice questions. The third playlist is a podcast series. So that's the way if you're going to binge. Now, if you're looking for a particular topic, use the channel search bar. There's, over 1,000 hours of content. And if you're looking, for example, I just posted, I think this morning, I don't know, I'm losing it, maybe yesterday, calculating buying power and selling power in a margin account. You'll never see that on Brian's free or paid stuff just because he doesn't think it's testable. I'm joking. It's really not. I worry, Brian, about spending time. I'm joking. I'm teasing Brian. But I would joke, Brian, and you and I talk about this, people who go down rabbit holes that I think their time would be better spent elsewhere, right? In terms of margin, there's time that could be devoted to other things, and vendors go overboard. But this particular guy said he saw it, I don't know. So if he saw it, I got to take him at face value. But anyways, if you're looking for something like that, just put in selling power or buying power or accrued interest, a particular topic. And then that's a way to find those particular things. You don't want to be trying to find that in 800 videos, we do a drawing for a 30-minute coaching call. And the coaching call is going to be February 16th. So if you win this evening, you will get a Zoom link for February 16th, Friday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. And to claim that, you send me your email within 1 hour. That is to be assigned. You can share it. You can do whatever you want with it. It will be taped. It will be shared. Last thing before we get rolling, Brian, we had a gentleman, I don't know if he's here tonight. We had a couple questions on Series 9. He gave me the Kaplan QIDs, and I did research those 2 questions for him. So if you're here, I want to go over those 2 questions you had. One question you had dealt with discretion not exercised on the order ticket. This is, I think, could apply to any, well, Series 7, I think, perhaps. I'll defer to you in a minute, Brian. But certainly Series 9, certainly Series 4. And the question, Brian, when I researched and did some homework for him, was when a customer calls you the discretionary account and it's his idea, how do you mark the order ticket? And what you mark the order ticket is DNA, discretion not exercised. This is on the order ticket to make sure my supervisor and whoever is looking over knows that this was not me who did this, right? This is unsolicited discretion not exercised. Now, the other version I would be aware of is what's called solicited discretion not exercised. This is where I call Brian. I say, Brian, I know I have discretionary authority in your account, but I'm not comfortable using it in this particular situation. I'd like to share this with you, and with your permission, go ahead. So I share with him. Brian says, let's do it. That would be solicited, my idea, discretion not exercised, meaning even though I had discretionary authority, I did not use it. Or I could also have that if I expand it. The other one he had, Brian, was a question about short sale exempt. And boy, it's like learning a foreign language. What does that mean? Exempt means the rule doesn't apply, right? So as you can see, Brian and I both are kind of casually dressed. And, you know, a Kaplan, I'm not a Kaplan employee, so I can say, but, you know, I had an instructor one time I was training Brian. He said, do we really have to wear ties? I said, absolutely. I said, the less competent you are, the more formally you want to be dressed. He said, well, you're not wearing a tie. Well, I'm exempt from that. You know, I can wear Birkenstock and shorts. Who cares? Right. So anyways, the other one he had was short sale exempt. And what that means, it's not subject to regulations show, the locate requirement of regulations show. And he got asked about a customer who was long a call and has issued exercise instructions. And he was supposed to recognize that there was no locate requirement for that because he knew that when he exercised, he would be able to deliver that stock. So what do you think, Brian, about discretion not exercised? It applies to Series 7, low probability, no probability?
Nope.
Probability. And what do you think about regulations show locate requirements?
Now that one, probably not, but SHO can show up on 7.
Okay.
It might be an answer choice, perhaps not a correct one, but I think very low probability on the 7.
Okay. And now it's helpful. I don't know if you're out there, Series 9 test taker, but what would be helpful is if you do have a question from a Kaplan, QBank, or PassPerfect, or whatever, if you email that before the Tuesday live, I will be better prepared. So I'm just being honest with you out there in the live stream. I'm not technically as competent as I'd like to be to go grab the Kaplan QBank on a shared screen during a live stream. It's a little too many potential problems. So feel free to send me that kind of stuff beforehand. All right. Now we got the housekeeping out of the way. Whoop. Let's see. We got mutual fund taxation, Series 7, please. Okay, well, you know, it's hard to be helpful when you give us a broad kind of a topic like that. I would just posted a short here recently called Drip Drip Tax Tax. And I'll comment briefly, and then I'll defer to Brian and when he wants to add to this. I was tutoring somebody today, and she missed the idea that the holding period of the security is based on how long the mutual fund has had it, not how long your client has owned the mutual fund. And so it was a long-term capital gain distribution to the shareholder based on how long the fund had it. Now, where it is going to be to you is when you redeem. So if you redeem at the NAV, that would be short-term or long-term based on how long you've held it. And I would know dividend reinvestment programs, DRIPs, are taxable. So whether you invest, reinvest, or not, that would be. And one of the disadvantages of the mutual fund is that you give up tax control of your investments. So I would also know, WT Fung, that ETFs are a little more tax efficient than our mutual funds on the tax front. Brian, would you like to add anything to that?
You know, you hit it. I was just waiting for you to hit the magic number. I think the reinvestment of dividends is what often is tested, right? A lot of people think, hey, I get this dividend, I reinvest it, I never receive it, therefore I don't get taxed on it, right? Wrong. Yep. Any dividend or capital gain distribution, even if it's reinvested, is still taxable.
You know, that concept is called constructive receipt.
Correct.
Is receipt. And what that means is the IRS, as far as they're concerned, you could have got the money, and that is the same as receiving it. Right. So right on. All right. Let's see what's next here. Let me just put that in our, I'm going to add a banner there. Boom. All right. Let's see what's next. Mutual fund. Hello, Dean and Brian. Good to see you. Same here, Yeti. Always good to see our regulars, so to speak, our regulars. Passed the Series 7 on Saturday. Vincent, you know what that means? Another test taker makes the mark. So I don't know, Brian, why people don't want to listen to you and I about what is testable content. But it's always good to have a victorious test taker in the house. You don't have to take Brian and I's word for it. If Vincent's hanging around a little bit, maybe you want to send him in the chat. Just say, hey, how was your draw? Now remember, be careful about putting too much faith in somebody else's draw, because the draws can be different, right? So, just because one person had a face of death draw and the other person had a dream draw, who knows what draw you're going to get. I always say, Brian, you should overlearn so you can take down any random draw you encounter. That's what you want to be able to do, right? Good evening. Good evening. Studying for the SIE. I am so excited, Karina, that we have people now in our channel have matriculated from their SIE exam to their 6 or 7, to their 63, 65, 66, to their 9, their 10, their 24. Woohoo! So welcome to the channel. Welcome to our Tuesday night lives. And I joke, Karina, I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to pass your exams, and the season is how long that takes you. I think, Karina, you're going to be around a while since you're on that first leg of your testing journey. You don't have to unsubscribe when you pass your exam. I have people say, Dean, hey, it's over, man. I'm done. So I get it. And Brian's there for you too. He's here most Tuesdays. And like I say, he's got a lot of stuff. I don't know if, Karina, you need a paid supplement or for the SIE. If you do, Brian's the guy. Get a Kaplan Q Bank if you don't have one. But as you matriculate through those exams, I think Brian is particularly helpful on some of those NASA exams. So when you arrive at the NASA exams and you want somebody who can, as Brian says, distill that NASA potatoes into a premium, Brian is your guy. Rob, pass the SIE. Woo!
And the 65.
Yeah, I'm guessing, Rob, that perhaps you're not sponsored. Is that why you did the SIE and the 65 without a 7? And then you're going to put the 63 with that? I like it. Yeah, old dogs, we may take a little longer, Rob, to get new tricks. You look pretty good, my friend. I'm looking at your headshot and you're 50. It makes me feel kind of bad. But Rob, I was going to say, old dogs may take longer to lose new tricks, but we're a little more clever too, right? I mean, the cunning, right? The cunning. 63 up next. I like it. Beverly Hills, large pools of money there in Beverly Hills. So that would be a good place to be a broker, right? A lot of people there who have money that needs to be deployed. The three things we try and do as brokers is find money. You don't get paid for finding the money. Move the money. You don't get paid for that either. And then placing the money. That's where we typically get paid, right? So, but it should be easier, Yasha, to find money in Beverly Hills, I would think, right? 65 from Ohio. Past Perfect. Well, Maria, I sometimes think we should start a Past Perfect support group. Past Perfect goes so into the weeds. Now, good news, it's better, Maria, to have too much than not enough. But boy, they have a lot of stuff. And Maria, I really recommend you get something to help you confirm what is a Past Perfect rabbit hole. I'm hinting at a supplement versus something that's on the broad avenues and highways of this Series 7. That being said, it's better to have too much than not enough. There's other vendors.
Do you know anybody at Past Perfect?
What's that?
Do you know anyone at Past Perfect?
I do.
Okay.
Why?
I just wanted to know the rationale as to why they do what they do.
I think I think it's more of a sales presentation. I think that with their sales team, I was talking to that senior person at Kaplan, that their sales team deserves a bonus. I, Brian, believe that product knowledge comes from sales efforts, not taking tests. that this is just a barrier to entry into the securities industry that needs to be overcome. Once you've done that, then we'll teach you about how to sell things and all the products. My inclination is that Past Perfect tells employers not only will people pass the test, they'll have enough background to go out into sales immediately. Totally disagree with that thesis personally, but that's what I think it is.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then the math, I know Brian likes math. The thing I feel bad, Brian, is there's a lot of math that they're never going to see on the actual exam, as you and I both know. So. Marcel, happy Mardi Gras from Kenner. Hey, Marcel, when you come back, I'll buy you dinner at the same place. Brian has been there. They changed the place you bought Mom and I dinner, the steakhouse. They've changed it. What is it now called, Brian?
William B's.
William B's. So, Marcel, next time you're in Vegas, it's my turn to reciprocate, and Mom and I will buy you dinner at that steakhouse. Brian says it's pretty yummy. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Good.
Good English. Can you please go over the type of retirement plans that might appear on the Series 7? Wow. I guess I need to make a comment. The live streams are not free tutoring sessions. Maria, I'm going to give it a good shot here, and then I'm going to defer it again to Brian in his whiteboard. But I would say, Maria, you want to fly high. What I mean by fly high is you should definitely know 59.5. You should definitely know the 10% penalty. You should definitely know the rollover is 60 days. You should definitely know RMD is 73. Brian, I love it, says you should definitely be able, and he's correct, to contrast a traditional IRA with a Roth IRA in terms of those tax consequences. I'm going to turn it over here to Brian in just a sec and see if he agrees with this statement. Maria, if you miss your mark on Series 7, you don't get the pass. It's not going to be retirement plans that did you in. What do you think, Brian? Okay.
Absolutely. I agree.
And then I would add into this, Brian beat me to it already on his whiteboard. You should definitely be able to distinguish between qualified plans, non-qualified plans. And what I think that should mean to you as a test taker, and I'll turn over to Brian just a sec, is when you hear the word qualified, you should be thinking pre-tax, zero cost basis. Non-qualified, you should be thinking variable annuities, after-tax money. I'm oversimplifying, but in general, I think that would not steer you wrong. Brian?
You're absolutely right. I keep it simple. As far as the qualified, you might run into a 401k, of course, but again, it's going to be contribution, penalties, RMDs. They're fairly
big picture. Maria, define 401ks are defined contribution plans where you, the employee, assume the investment risk. Defined benefit plans are where your employer is assuming the investment risk. They're promising you a percentage of your base pay and healthcare for the rest of your life, for example. Very few employers anymore are using defined benefit plans, right? So variable annuities, I would know. There's a handful of variable annuity questions. Maria, when you hear the word variable annuity on the test, I would just translate mutual fund with insurance wrapper. So every time I hear variable annuity, I'm saying mutual fund with insurance wrapper. Right?
One other thing, Dean, I know one of the textbook publishers out there, in their appendix in the back, they have like an entire page or two of just lists of retirement plans. So I'm wondering sometimes if you have one of these textbooks and you see this mountain of different types of retirement plans, I've had so many people say, "Oh my God, do I have to remember all this?" No. You certainly don't. And that's why I said fly high. Know those big things, the 59.5, the 10%, the 60-day rollover. For the most part, I think it's going to be aim and shoot, point and click kind of questions. It's not going to be too much in the weeds. So, yeah. That being said, though, Brian, I would just add to that. If you have a vendor that does have an appendix, make sure you check it out. Because there could be some good stuff back there. There might be a lot of filler, but there could be some good stuff as well. I'll tell you what I usually do. If this is your first time with us, what I usually do is I link in the replay in the video description and pinned comments to links on things that we have discussed in the live stream. What have we discussed thus far? We discussed IRAs, retirement plans, and I'll try and link to a video that you can watch on it. And I really think
or it's my video or Brian's free videos. He has paid videos, but his free video. I think a video would be sufficient for retirement plans. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, because vendors, I do think, when you look at pages in vendors' textbooks, sometimes it has no relationship to the weighting. I mean, it literally could not only be appendix, right? It could be 100 pages on retirement.
That's right. Yeah.
Good evening, Nicole. Took the 65 class, left September and passed. All right, woohoo! I apologize if I didn't give you kudos in the email. Return your email. I apologize. Tom, feel pretty bad because we just crossed 3 million, like 300,000 views. We're coming up on 30,000 subscribers. And I literally get so many emails that if I can't read the first sentence and figure it out, I can't keep up. I'm thinking about hiring somebody just to help me keep up with stuff like that. Brian had somebody who wanted to discuss. I didn't want to be rude, Tom, but the guy wanted me to give him a call to discuss tutoring. And I said, I just don't have time to do that. I mean, either you book it or you don't. I mean, I can't spend 30 minutes talking to somebody about. I'm preparing for your 65. I should tell you that Brian and I think that 65, Virginia, is one of the tougher exams, particularly if you don't have a background. Could we explain agent broker and IA and IAR related to registration and requirement of custody of clients' money? I will link to a very good video. Brian taught an evening class for us on definitions and registrations of persons. So agent means you got to be careful because on the legal front end, on the NASA exams, context is really important. So when we're talking about a broker-dealer, broker-dealers have capacity. And they're either the broker-dealer, the firm is acting either in its broker agency capacity, charging you a commission and getting the security elsewhere, or they're acting in their dealer principal capacity, charging you a markup or a markdown. And in that discussion, the agent is the individual who works for the broker-dealer. And you should think transactions. You get transactions, either commissions, markup, or markdowns, trading for others or themselves. Now, Brian did a good job on that video about how we register the broker dealer as well as agents of the broker dealers. IAs are either going to be registered SEC, state, never both. Again, I'll link to the video. And then you as an investment advisor rep, that's somebody who's taking the 65 or 66, are either going to be an investment advisor rep of a federally covered advisor, which in case custody is not a testable point, or an investment advisor rep of a state covered advisor where custody is a potential test point. If it's your firm, not you, you should have custody of a customer's money or securities under any circumstances.
That's right. That's
what your firm does. And there's going to be a net worth requirement of 10 or 35K. For a live stream, Brian, there's anything you want to add to that besides the video?
Well, I'm a little concerned about the last part of that sentence.
Yeah.
Requirement of custody of clients' money. And I was thinking the same thing. People, agents and IARs don't have custody of customers' money. Yeah, no. Firms like broker-dealers and IAs may have custody of customer assets. Individuals do not. That's pretty easy.
Yeah. And then I would think the requirement there, Yeti, would be, is it a proper custodian? That would be a requirement. And then this idea of net worth of 10 or 35 grand. So, Brian, have you had any debrief on the 10 or 35? I'm just thinking, I don't think anybody's ever told me they saw the 10 or 35 grand.
No, you're right. It does not show up very often at all. I think more likely about the net worth requirement or net capital requirement of federal IAs, which of course there is none on the federal level.
That's
right. And
that 100 million, they don't even on the 100 million yet, where you can choose to be federally covered 110. They don't even typically ask that number. They just give you the investment advisor and tell you their AUM. Then you, from that, have to reverse engineer whether you're looking at a state covered or federally covered. All right, what's next? Hi, do you recommend to do the week leading up to the exam? Well, both Brian and I think 7 to 10 days out, you should be doing practice tests to get marks, right? So I don't know, Austin, if you've done a practice test yet and got a mark, but that would be our recommendation. Practice tests, remediate, no more than one practice test a day. Brian, I think, Austin, if you don't have a Brian practice test geek, I would, Brian, let's be clear, Austin, what I'm about to tell you. For $20, I think, is it still 20, something around $20, Brian?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
PDF. For $20, Brian will send you his PDF as a practice test. I think it's the best practice test available. I just had somebody today, Brian. I told her to put that away. She's testing Saturday. I said, do the Test Geek practice test Thursday to get that final mark. Because what I like about Brian's practice test is there's no filler in it. There's nothing in there that is a vendor kind of a thing. It's testable content. And I told her to get that last mark Thursday. Then what I told her, Brian, to do with your practice test is to use it as a poor man's flashcard and read your practice test and answers Friday night and Saturday morning. And so that would be the last mark, Austin, is either the day before or the day before your exam, that final practice test, whether it's Brian's or whether it's, somebody else's. But if you got 7 days out, what do you think, Brian? 2-3 more marks on practice tests?
Absolutely.
Let me show you Brian's board here. Let me just show you Brian's board. So can you just explain that to him a little bit, Brian?
Yeah, we always recommend the last 7 to 10 days you work on practice finals. Exactly what Dean said. Dean and I are absolutely simpatico on all this. Practice final to find out where you are in the process, how close you are. We like, obviously, low to mid 70s, if not higher. Okay. But your goal is not just to do 42,000 practice finals. You do the practice final to find the score and then run the performance tracker on these things, right? Where they break the score down into the different units to find your weak areas. So you can then go into Dean's videos or my videos. I have class notes that I like to review. That's the really, really distilled information. And if you needed to go back into a couple of practice questions on those topics. So you evaluate, you remediate, and then
that's right.
Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Right? That's exactly.
Yeah, we're so on the same page, Austin, on that. I had a guy, Brian, and he was bragging they did 4 practice tests a day, and I go, what a waste of time. I mean, the 4th test is not a mark. So under no circumstance, Austin, should you be doing more than 1 practice test. Practice test, then remediation. And, you don't even have to do one every day. But, I have a young lady. She's got a day off. And I said, well, if you're going to do 2, do one bright and early and do one late, early afternoon. Don't try and slam those practice tests. Remember, you're not trying to learn through the practice test, Austin. You're trying to get that mark. Find those weak areas, as Brian said, and then remediate. That's what you're trying to do. And then we feel that if you're in the mid-70s routinely on practice tests, you should be good to go. Why would someone want to buy strips compared with zero coupon bonds? Because of credit quality. A strip comes from the U.S. Treasury, and you don't have credit risk when you buy Treasury securities. If you buy a zero coupon bond from the Ford Motor Company, who knows if they're going to be here 20 years from today? But the Treasury certainly would. I would say that would be the reason is credit risk. What do you think, Brian? You have any other reasons?
I don't know any place that would ever ask this question.
Right, it's so focused on the test. That's absolutely right.
Sorry. Is this on the test?
Yeah. Would we not agree?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. The only difference is credit. Yeah. Credit risk.
I would say, though, you should definitely know zero coupon bonds of all kinds, all issuers. You have to do straight line amortization upward called accretion. Not going to make you do it. And know that imputed interest you're receiving is taxable. I would know that unlike a normal bond that pays you every 6 months, zeros do not. So you don't have reinvestment risk as it applies to getting those payments every 6 months. I would know it's a very good for somebody who needs a set sum of money at some future date. The obvious thing there would be like a college education, for example. What's that?
College tuition. That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's a good idea,
right? College tuition and zero.
That's right. And then I would know they're very volatile with interest rates. Wouldn't matter, though, if you're buying it for, an 18-year zero for college. But, in the secondary market, they have, long and low, right? The longer the maturity and the lowest coupon, no coupon here. That's going to be the most volatile.
You and I
am with Brian, though. I've never had anybody tell me, why would you buy a strip instead of a zero? I in general, have seen people get questions about credit quality. And you should know that there's no better credit quality in the United States government. You can get it through direct obligations like strips, T-notes, T-bonds, T-bills, Ginnie Maes, PHAs. That's definitely testable. And then second safest form of credit is munis, and then corporates.
You and I could come up with 10 questions on zero coupons, depending on which exam you're talking about. They come up on
Exactly
quite a bit
right.
of different exams.
That's exactly right. Preferential ordinary taxation. I'm not sure if you're talking about preferential. I don't know what you mean by that, unless you're talking about maybe stocks. And if you buy it 60 to 90 days before the record date, you may get taxed at a lower than ordinary income tax rate. So, Erica, could you in the chat give Brian and I a little more color around that? What you mean by preferential versus ordinary? Preferential to me means long-term capital gains are taxed at lower than ordinary income tax rates. Short-term gains are taxed at ordinary income tax rates. And then I'm thinking there is not on the 6, I don't think they would get in this, but you do get preferential treatment on stocks, how long you've had it from the record date. So give us some more context there, Erica. Absolutely not. I do not think Achievables content is better than Kaplan. I can't even believe you would ask me such a question. I am a authorized paid social media influencer from Kaplan, and I teach Kaplan classes. Brian is not, but he at one time was that. Here's my problem with Achievable. I have a big problem with the correlation of their practice test scores to the actual exam. So, Valikia, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you are using Achievable's content, Brian Rith, I think, is a very effective communicator. And if you want to use that as your reading, I have no problem with that. And I don't think on the SIE you're at risk with Achievable. But I do think as Achievable is your only study source for other exams, that you could get a score there. We just had a guy today on social media. He said he got a 90 on Achievable. And then Kaplan, give us another, this is anecdotal, but I had a young lady and she was really upset with Kaplan because she was struggling and she didn't like the pros, and she bought the Achievable. And she was so happy because her scores roared. And she, oh man, Dean, 75, and now I'm getting 85. And I said, well, do me a favor. She was scoring like high 60s on Kaplan. Let's do Brian's practice test. And she got a 66 on your practice test, Brian. And unfortunately, even after getting 80 plus on Achievable, guess what she scored on the actual exam?
67.
Yep. So, I mean, so that's what my problem is. So I love the people over Achievable. I met with them when they were in the formation stages. I think Brandon's a wonderful guy. So please don't misconstrue what I just said. I do not think, I'll just answer point blank, their content isn't better than Kaplan's. I don't believe that. But, what do they say? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. In my opinion, they're not. And then the bigger problem is not so much the content. It's the practice test. But,
I had a similar
Chuck Lowenstein. Brian knows Chuck Lowenstein is our NASAA Kaplan, and Bill James is the guy who does Series 7. And I would say this, I know Kaplan, they're trying to stretch your mind and hope it doesn't go back to the same spot. So they are purposely trying to mimic the poor grammar in questions that people encounter. Same with you, Brian. Sometimes people will bitch to me about your practice questions and say, oh, well, he could have been a little more clear about that. And I go, well, that's not the point. The point is, to mimic the exam. So, okay, I ranted. I'm sorry for ranting. So there's my rant. I'm done.
I had a similar conversation today about Achievable. They were using it as their main content. First thing I said, Achievable is not main content. It's more supplemental material rather than main content. I think that kind of ends the conversation.
I think the price point reflects that. I think the price point reflects that. One more thing, and I'll let it go. My other part of my rant is that Ken, rebranded as Series 7 Whisperer, and Michael Weiss and other people who are Achievable fans will recommend Achievable with a Kaplan QBank, which I'm a big fan of that. However, then I don't know why they won't tell you that Michael Weiss's Kaplan portal gives you a 10% discount. He makes you create a Kaplan account, then tells you you'll discover his discount. When you get browse, it's 10%. My discount code to checkout is 15%. So I don't know why they can't be transparent and just tell people if you go through the Kaplan portal that Michael has, it's a 10% discount. They keep trying to make it sound like it's the same as Dean's discount. Oh, I think it's 15%. They know it's not 15%. They know it's 10. All right, now I'm done. Sorry about that, Malikia. Erica, confused on 12 months or less is taxed. I don't like you're saying ordinary. It's taxed as ordinary at your ordinary income tax rates. So that's called a short-term capital gain. It is taxed at your ordinary income tax rate. Preferential, that's called not preferential. It's called a lower rate. It is for long-term capital gains. If you've been at risk for more than a year, then you qualify for a long-term capital gain. I don't think the test, Erica, is going to ever use the word preferential. It'll just be a lower rate. So it'll behoove you, if you've had the stock for 11 months and 29 days, to hang on for a few more days. Right? So that's what that's about. 60-day rule. The 60-day rule, I think you mean is a rollover. If I call you, Eric, and say, redeem my mutual fund in my retirement plan, have a cashier's check waiting for me next Wednesday, and I take that physical possession, I have to have it back in the appropriate place within 60 days. That's the only 60-day rule I'm aware of. Brian, you know another one?
Nope. I'm actually using the Google machine here to look up the word preferential treatment. It's not a tax term.
You will not see that term, Erica, on the test. You will get tested on the distinction between short-term capital gains, less than 12 months, being taxed at ordinary income tax rates, and long-term capital gains, where you've had it for more than a year, being taxed at a lower rate, a long-term. So that is a preference rate. It's just not the term they use on the test.
No, not at all.
Hi, Ivy. Let's get set up. I think I still owe you a coaching call. Let's get it set up. Benita, are you going to see alpha and beta on a 6? Do you think, Brian?
Absolutely not. No.
So I don't know who your vendor is. We're just talking about vendors. I'd be suspicious of a vendor in a 6 talking about alpha and beta. Beta is a measurement, Benita. I'll answer the question. Beta is a measurement of volatility as compared to the market as a whole. So, Benita, if you sell somebody an index fund, the beta would be 1. Alpha is the excess return over beta. So let's say your mutual fund had a beta 1.5, market went up 10%. You would expect your mutual fund's NAV to go up 15%. If it went up 18, the 3% would be alpha. So I think unlikely you would see that on your guys. There, Brian's got his whiteboard fired up.
You know what I'm thinking, Dean? There have been some questions. Again, this is from the Legacy 6. I don't know about the newer top off 6, but there might have been some answer choices or test questions about mutual funds that have lower beta stocks versus higher beta stocks.
Oh, okay.
And essentially what you're talking about.
If that's the question, if that's the question, Brian, I would think something like this, Benita. If I have a mutual fund that has a beta of stocks less than 1, it would underperform in a rising market because it wouldn't go up as much, and it would outperform in a falling market because it wouldn't go down so much. So I do think it would be. I had Brian, a guy who does seminars on luncheons for people with 401ks. He told me that he had a guy come up to him at the break and said, "I want to retire in 5 years. Which one of your funds should I pick?" And he said, "Well, how much have you set aside thus far?" And he said, 0. And then I said, "Well, how'd you respond?" He said, "I told him that we don't have a mutual fund with a high enough beta to get him from here 0 to retirement in 5 years." Right? So the other concept here, Benita, is how fast do you need to go to get your financial destination? So I might, Benita, say this mutual fund has a higher beta than I would usually be comfortable with, but in our case, we need it, because we need to, make a move.
And I doubt.
All right. Well, hey, we're all right, Maria. Another successful test taker. Woohoo! All right. I love it. So matriculating through SIE Series 7, 63, 65. Love it. Love it. Yeah, there you go. I like it, Rob. But, it'll put you when you're in the race of human capital. If I got 2 people, Rob, you and somebody else, and you've already got those registrations, I do think it gives you an edge, I would think, because I know you can pass a test. You've shown some initiative. So I don't think that's a bad idea. If you're going to go out there and look for sponsorship and you already come to the table. By the way, the 63, 65 is is, I think, also a good idea because the 65 can work without a 7. So, but Rob, what that means, you might get a job at like in Brian's neck of the woods, Fisher Investments. They have 65s. They're not a broker dealer. So I like that way you did it as well, because you might find a position where the 65 would work, whereas a 66 doesn't work. You can take it without sponsorship, but it won't work without a 7. I think we just did that, Benita. I gave it a shot. We gave it a shot. Any recommendations? Well, I think we just talked about this Super Justin 2001, what you should be doing. And we said practice exams, practice tests. This is Tuesday. So, how many more can you think? 2 or 3, Brian?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
2 or 3, get your mark. Do your last one, depending on your confidence level. Do your last one either Thursday or Friday if you're feeling confident. If you watch the replay, I'll tag it. Super Justin. Brian does talk about a week out. What we just answered this. I don't know if you were here for it, but Brian took a few minutes on the whiteboard. I'll timestamp it. I'll find it in the replay and timestamp it. Check it out. I think Brian did some good whiteboard work on that. I just said why I wouldn't recommend Achievable. I didn't say I wasn't. Listen, let's be clear what Dean did and didn't say. I did not say I don't recommend Achievable. I was asked, do I think Achievable's content is better than Kaplan? My answer was no. The answer being no means I'm not going to recommend it, but I didn't say don't. I just said I answered the question. Kaplan content is better. I then said I have a problem with the correlation of Achievable's practice test scores to the actual scores. That's what I said. I then said, if you have Achievable and you have a paid supplement, life is good. You have Achievable with a Kaplan Q Bank or Achievable with Brian's paid supplement. I did say what I do recommend. I don't recommend you do or don't buy Achievable. What I did recommend is you have Achievable. I highly recommend a supplement, free or paid. One other thing I said, SIE doesn't matter. Nobody's at risk on SIE with Achievable. So let's be clear what I said and what I did not say. I then went on a rant about lack of transparency. Are the tests now using, I don't know what you mean, 7,000 or 6,500? I have, for
How about
IRAs,
contributions? Yeah.
they don't get into the numbers because they have to change them all the time. What they ask you about is you need earned income to fund it. You can't fund it with dividends. You need, Roth is using after tax. Have you ever seen a debrief that somebody got asked specifically the 6,500 for this year or so? Because, then what they would have to do, Chris, is go into Q Bank and continually update. It's like the gift tax. They just don't get in the numbers. They get in the big picture, the big pictures. Do they ask ERISA questions? Chris, it depends on your exam. ERISA stands for every ridiculous idea since Adam. No.
Oh, stop it.
It stands for the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. If you do get a question, I think it would be about what we were discussing, defined contribution versus defined benefit. Maybe a question, it was passed in 74 because the Teamsters kept linking their pension money to the mob, which we didn't think was very prudent. And, Studebaker went bankrupt and the employees never got their checks, their retirement. So, maybe. What do you think, Brian, about ERISA?
Well, it depends on what test, again. So we don't know the test.
I had an insurance company, major insurance company, Brian, where I was doing all their 65s for them. And they would get so worked up about ERISA. And I said, guys, it's 2 questions max on 65. If you get on the 2 of them, you probably get one of them right. And you have other things to be doing besides getting bogged down in ERISA.
Yeah.
Hi, Trish. The practice questions are good. Absolutely. Another 65. Did Kaplan 5 months switch to Past Perfect? Read the entire book, not abreast, with the layout. Kaplan, much more user-friendly, and love the Q Bank. Renewed Kaplan diet. I love it, Michelle. So I have no issues with Past Perfect, except, again, it's more than you need. But as I said, more than you need is better than not enough, right? So let's, I think Exam FX is a little skinny, Well. Amato, greetings and salutations. Thanks for all the help. Passed the SIE yesterday, Series 7 next. Love it. Here's your victory. Woo! Ask for whom the bell tolls for thee. Any advice how to approach the 7? Amato, I'll link, but I have a video that says Series 7 start here. So Series 7 start here. I'll link to that video. So it's a video about how to approach the Series 7. So Brian lays out a study plan idea too. So, what you want to be thinking about is your study plan. I'll link to that video. And then do you have that same on YouTube? I think you have a free video on YouTube, don't you, Brian, about a study plan?
I believe I start every video course with that plan. I have a written blog on that plan.
So I'll link to that too, Amato. I'll link to that as well.
I talk to people every day. What should I do? How should I do it?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would in general say, Amato, that as a test taker, I always like to start with reading the book first.
That's it.
Just to see, what's in there cover to cover. So that's how I start. And then, start doing some chapter quizzes. It looks like you got Brian fired up. It looks like he's going to the whiteboard.
That's it. It's a 3-pillar process. And it's for every exam. It doesn't change. Start with the textbook, lay the foundation. Dean and I probably will be nice to you, but we won't talk to you much unless you lay foundation. Because this is where we are. This is where Dean and I have lived for the last 30 years, right? We want to take all of this, distill it, help you to understand it, explain it, visualize it, make it make sense so that you can then decipher it in a test question. We are the perfect bridge between the textbooks and the real exam. So that's where we live. And then, of course, we've already outlined this tonight, right? 7 to 10 days out. You want to do a practice final, evaluate, remediate, evaluate, remediate. It's a very simple 3-pillar process.
Yeah, those questions, by the way, Amato, if you're using a Kaplan Q Bank, and you are, that's great. The Kaplan Q Bank, you can do your unit quizzes. And then what Brian suggests, and I'm, again, very simpatico, is you do unit 1, and then you do unit 2, and then do a combination of unit 1, unit 2, then do unit 3, then do a combination of 1, 2, 3. Keep bringing up that caboose until you've got all those units done. Then that's when you turn to practice tests.
That's right. Get us back to you, Dean. Can't see you.
Oh, sorry. I was doing so good, man. I'm going to make it one of these days.
Yeah, you were. We've been a little out of practice.
Yeah, man, just, a blessing. Well, so thank you so much, Damian. That's wonderful. So already passed the 6, the 63, currently working on the 63. Well, there's your SIE. There's your 6. There's your 63. And we'll give you your 4th bell ring when you get that last one. Okay. Employee stock options and what to know for the test? Looks like
ISOs and NSOs.
Yeah, there you go. I got your whiteboard, Brian.
Come back, Dean.
I thought you were going to your whiteboard. No?
No.
Okay.
It was the 65 and or the 66. Either one are bringing up these topics, right? The NSOs and ISOs. I was just going to do an intro for you.
Okay. Oh, well, NSOs, non-qualified stock options, right?
Right.
And so that means that that's after tax. Incentive stock options are pre-tax, and then that's the tax consequences. That's the only test question I've heard about NSO and ISOs. What do you think, Brian? Is there more to it than that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's I haven't got enough debrief on what they're actually asking about, but
yeah,
I'm working.
I think it's the tax consequences of exercise based on how you receive them, what kind you received.
Right.
By the way, in certain circumstances, it's part of your compensation. So this happened to Elon, right? Whether or not he sells the exercises and sells, he's going to get taxed on as if he did. And so, he had to sell billions of dollars in Tesla because of the options that he received. Problems of the rich, right? Questions in the chat to Motto about how his SIE was. I'd like to know after taking the SIE best choice. I would think, well, if you have a sponsorship, I don't suggest getting clever. I would do it in the order that most people do it: SIE, 7, and 66. Unless there's some reason, like we had somebody earlier didn't have sponsorship. But if you have sponsorship, that's the way that most people would do it. Stock split, yeah, Amato, you should be prepared on the SIE to do a stock split, definitely. So thanks for that debrief. You should definitely, more of the time you can do it without doing the math by knowing that you're going to end up with
Thank
more
you.
shares before, Brian. You can just shop the answer set. What do you think? 99 out of 100 times, Brian? Or
Thank you. Yes.
uh,
Yes. Stock splits, more shares, lower
yeah,
price. No
the
math.
opposite. No math. If the exam doesn't say leap, should we always assume yes? I mean, even a leap would be short term unless you bought it. The only option trading, there's three things that can happen to an option contract. T is a good way to remember it. The contract can be traded, the contract can be exercised, the contract can expire. All option trading is short term. So if you're doing an offsetting transaction in an option, you're doing a closing sale or closing purchase, it's short term. The only exception would be if you buy a leap, you can be at risk for more than 12 months, and that would qualify for long-term capital gain. It is the only situation. If you sell short a leap, it doesn't matter. It's going to be short term. So I worry a little bit about going into something like that, because you should stay on the broad avenues and highways of the Series 7s, not these little areas like this. But that being said, technically leaps go out 39 months. In practice, they go out 30 months. I do think you could a leap question, but I don't think it's going to be taxation. I think it's going to be recognition that leaps have enormous time value because of this idea of the expiration being so far out. Brian, your thoughts on leaps and testability on 7?
We are familiar with leaps being on the Series 7 for many, many years.
Yeah.
I just don't, again, after the legacy split in half to the top off, I just don't hear them as often, if at all.
There you go.
But it's still an
Minnesota. Nick, Minnesota. Nick, so happy. I spent so many months and years going back and forth to Minneapolis. As a result of that, Nick, I had snow gear because, having the proper gear is really important. And I, a couple of weeks back, took all my snow gear up to my off-grid cabin in the mountains of northern Arizona. And Nick, I was so glad I had my Minnesota winter gear because I need it. I got my snow boots and my parka. So greetings from Minnesota. Taken 3 practice finals lately, 265 plus. My third today was a 45. Wow. Well, get that out of your system, Nick. I would turn around tomorrow and do another one. Get that 45. Let's banish that puppy. I hope I don't know how the 3, I hope they weren't 3 like in the same day, because that's a huge collapse there. And I think that's not knowledge deficit. I would like to know, don't put your personal business on the chat, but that's really an anomaly to go from 265 to a 45. Nick, do me a favor. When you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed tomorrow and you got some time, just go get on that horse and do another one. And let's make sure we're popping back into that 60 range, because from the 60 range, you can approach the 70 range we want to be at. 45 is a problem. Yeah, Brian.
Are we doing any remediation after any of these practice finals?
Well, that's a good point, right? Did you just do 65, 65, and a 45, or did you do a 65 remediate, 65 remediate, and then you got a 45? I'd find that hard to believe, Brian, if that was the case.
Yeah, that's
but whatever it is, Nick, you're don't just listen. I know morale is low, but boy, you got to get back up, my friend. You got to get back off the ground and put out a good fight. The biggest thing I tell people when they have a reverse like that is let's do another one right away. Right? It's like if you lose a game and you can't wait to play the next one, get back out on the court and get that W. So let's do another practice exam tomorrow at some point and see if we can't get you back. I don't get too stressed about it. We don't want to get too stressed until we do another one and see if there's a pattern, bad pattern. I'm expecting you're going to pop back up. And even if you don't pop in the 60, just the 60 range, there's a huge difference between 60 and 45. So let's get that done. How do you purchase Brian's practice test, Nick? Just send him an email. Let me put his email up there. Boom, boom, boom. Where is Brian? There he is. So just send Brian an email. Tell me you want to buy his practice test PDF. Again, it's just the PDF. You can buy his class notes. I highly recommend it if you got the money. Don't be frugal. I mean, I understand if you don't have the resources, but if you do, not a time to be frugal. Buy the class notes, buy his videos, buy, my free supplement, Kaplan, QBank, whatever you need to get the job done for sure.
Yeah, you can just go to my website, Test Geek Exam
Oh, well, there
Prep,
you go. So you can do that too.
and that's where all the PDFs are. My videos are on the Teachable platform,
Yeah.
which
So
is
Yeti did
there's a
130. She
button.
did 130 on your. So I'm imagining she did your 65, Brian. 16. Yeah, I think you should be good. She missed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Damn good, don't you think?
You missed 16. How many did you get right?
Well,
People do that. They always tell me how many they got wrong.
well, yeah.
Because
So we take 130 minus 16.
yeah, you and
130
I are in
minus
the
16
range
is
in
114. We
how many you
divide
got
by
right.
130. That's 87%, Brian.
I know.
87.9. That's pretty damn good.
That's right. So you need a minimum of 92 to pass,
Yeah.
right?
So, and then
The Series
Brian,
60,
we also got 79. That's a great score. I'll take it.
very good score. Very good
70s.
score.
I love it. Cap 92. Man, some great scores.
Oh,
Great scores. Fantastic. Got a making 70s, but 92% of the QPEC. I love it. Love it. You should be fine.
It's looking good.
Hey,
Yeah.
Super Chat. Paulo, thank you so much. Woohoo. You know what a Super Chat is, Brian?
Yes, sir. I certainly
We'll
do.
put that to our Friday bar tab when you and I are out.
There you
We'll
go.
have a
All right.
cocktail.
And we will
Paulo.
test to follow.
What's that?
We will toast to follow.
That's right. We'll go toast to you. Brian and I drink expensively, so we'll have to add to that.
Yeah.
I love it. Investment advisor representative. Fantastic. Oh, look at all these scores, man. Wow. Love Knopman. Knopman, I do, Eric. I think Knopman's enough. Knopman uses the Kaplan Q Bank and they have their benchmarks. I don't think you're at risk at all with Knopman. Past Series 7 today. All right. Woo. Yeah, Christian. Free is a great price point. Very popular price point is free.
Ring the bell. I get my wings. I like it. There's a fan. There it is.
Just so if you're new, the bell comes from The Wonderful Life. It's a famous Christmas movie, and there's an angel named Clarence. And Clarence hears the bell, and he says to Jimmy Stewart that, I can't do Chiefs because of the Niners. I'm a Niner guy, so we can't put Chiefs. We could. I'll tell you what. We'll put Swifty. We'll put Swifty. Wait till I put it in there.
I just wanted to celebrate the winners. I don't.
Okay, I'll do Chiefs, Ryan. I know you're. Did you win any bets?
I made money. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll use Chiefs then. As long as you made some money and I can drink some of it up, I'm all for it.
And we'll put it to our cocktail bill next week.
That's right. We got our drinking fund is becoming larger.
There you go.
Capital's the best. I think so. Congrats to whoever passed. There you go. It looks like I'm going quick because it's time for our drawing here in a minute.
Yeah, that's what this is, by the way.
Yeah. The Chiefs is, don't put it in yet because it won't go in there until I get the giveaway tool ready.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Sorry, my confusion in taxation about a 60-90 rule where they get a lower rate. So again, Erica, I think what you're talking about is not testable. But in a cash dividend from a stock, if I own it 60 to 90 days, depending on what common or preferred, who cares, not testable, I get taxed at a lower rate than an ordinary income tax rate. It is not testable. It is not testable on Series 6. It might be testable on 65, 66. If so, it's not the 69 days. It's just knowing it's lower than your ordinary income tax rate based on how long you've held the stock prior to the record date. You want to add to that,
are
Ryan?
we talking about a qualified dividend?
I think that's what she's talking about. That's indeed what I think she's talking about. Well, yeah, Knopman, again, like Past Perfect, they do it on purpose. They want you to be pleasantly surprised, right? So they're trying to stretch your mind and hope it doesn't go back to the same spot. Fig 65, man, what a night. What a night. Love it. All right, let me go get our thing. Is it okay to take? Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to take it in any order you want. Assuming you got sponsorship. 7 needs sponsorship. Okay, let's see. It's 66. I told you guys not to put Chiefs in there until I get the thing fired up because otherwise it won't work.
That's my fault.
So that you're going to have to, if you put Chiefs in already, you're going to have to redo it.
Sorry.
That's all right, Brian.
I'm just trying to be your wingman and give you a kind of.
I know. I appreciate it.
Okay. Sorry.
Let me go get our screen. What happened? There's our boom. Boom. Share screen.
That, in fact, I'm getting hungry.
Well, I knew you were kind of hinting that it's time to, close this thing up. As I know how Brian's mind works.
Yes, you do. I guess you do.
All right, so there we go. Let me.
Too many nights at the roulette table, I guess, huh?
Let me get rid of that. Let me put my email up. Boom, there's my email. Let's get rid of Brian and I. All right, there we go. So now you can put Chiefs into the chat, and then we'll spin the wheel of fortune and see if fortune is smiling upon you. And if you do win, remember, you got to claim your winnings within 1 hour of the end of this thing. Every once in a while, Brian, I get somebody who tells me they won this thing 6 months ago and they like their coaching call. This is an option. It expires 1 hour after the close of this. So if you want to exercise this option, it needs to be done so by 7 p.m. Pacific time. It could be any NASA FINRA exam. We can talk about whatever you want. We can do practice questions. We can go over options, whatever you want to do. All right, looks like that's it. Has everybody got their Chiefs in who wants to participate? All right, here we go. Caesar, you said you need to send me an email, Caesar, too, because we got to get you on the schedule. I owe you. Marcel, look at all these repeat winners. So, Marcel, I think I owe you like 2 hours over the course of the last 18 months. So, Marcel, send me the email just to remind me. I know you, you know me, so we don't, but I just so it doesn't fall through the cracks, send me that email. And I think you got a credit, I think, of 2 that you won previously. So I think it's 90 minutes for you, my friend. And then Caesar, I owe you 1. And I'll make an exception, Marcel. I told you this was Friday at 2:30, but for somebody like you, we'll work it out so it's mutually agreeable to both of us if you want. Welcome to join me that Friday link I'm going to send you, or just say, Dean, can we do it whenever? I'll be more than happy to work with you on that. All right. So as we always say, let me just get rid of the banner there. I always say, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And Brian, you say?
Keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. And for all those test-taking victories, woo!
Hey!
See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.